Nope, Twiddlers 7. Hello.
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 Hello, everybody.
We were just talking about
Oh.
before the chat about the touring and missing chatting with people on the road. So here we are.
Yes.
Chatting with each other.
Well,
Feels very, very good.
Yeah.
viva technology that we can do that
Yes.
because some years ago we couldn't have done it.
No.
Everybody would be
Definitely.
separated in there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So so really good to see you all, and I'm gonna make a shout out to the people who are watching. Hello, everybody who's watching.
Hello.
If you are watching on
Hello.
YouTube,
Hello.
if you are watching on YouTube, you can leave comments in the comment section and talk to us directly if there's anything that you want us to answer, any questions, then we're here. And
We can
So-
see you.
yeah, we can see you.
We can see you.
I can hear you.
Oh, here we go. Our friend Marcus is here.
Hey,
Marcus.
Hey, Marcus.
And
Yeah.
Robin Kamschool is here as well.
Hello,
Hey, Robin. Hey.
And all the stream punks from who watch every week are here. So
Ah. Cool.
anyway, so yeah,
Yes.
you're in Palermo, right, Lucy?
I am in Palermo at the moment. Yes, yes. I kind of left Berlin just before this mess happened. Also because I wanted to spend some time closer to my family, and it ended up being a long time close to my family. So, yes, I'm here since a few months already, since January, kind of. Yeah. Yes. And where
Yeah.
are you now?
Hey, Mike.
Joachim.
Hi, Mike.
Hi,
He's
Mike.
Actually, his studio is just in front of mine. So
Oh, really?
Okay.
You
he
should
can
come
by.
over. You should come over and
Come
say
over.
hi.
Mike, if you're in the studio, join us.
Yeah, love the stream punks. Joachim, I recognize it well, the studio where we worked so much together. So you are in Rotterdam for sure.
For sure,
And
yeah.
Dasha and Colleen, you're both in Berlin. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yes. Is that your studio, Dasha? I've never
Yeah.
been.
No, well, you haven't.
I've
But yeah,
never
it
been.
is. Yeah.
Yes. And Colleen, is that your studio or more
Yeah,
like
my
living?
home, my
yeah.
home studio.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Did you bring a setup to Palermo, or are you completely without
Oh
any
yeah,
gear right
I
now?
brought
okay.
a fucking truck of shit. To be honest. No, yeah, I really like as soon as this thing started happening and I smelled like, oh my god, shit is about to hit the fan. I was like preparing literally a truck of stuff, and I brought my whole studio here because I was like, this is gonna go forever. So
Oh, you brought everything.
every single piece
Oh, wow.
of
Oh, wow,
equipment.
Wow.
And it was actually a good thing because I really needed to refresh a bit my brain with production. So I completely rebuilt the whole studio, my patch base organized in a completely new way. So the whole workflow was completely fresh. It was so good, like
Wow.
so needed. Yeah.
That's so helpful.
So yeah, no, definitely. Like, yeah, to me, it's really, I mean, Joachim knows very well, we've been working together for so long, but for me, it's like, it's so much about like your workflow, even much more than like your machines, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, for me, like the same 808 is a completely different instrument depending on how I place it in the chain, let's say,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm.
So yeah, now I'm knowing a new 808, let's say,
Yeah.
like, for the 18th time in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, change of location is always
Yeah,
lets you
it feels
rediscover your tools and look at them in a different way.
Yeah,
I feel.
definitely.
Yeah.
And consider also I'm not
Advantage.
anymore in a depressive Northern European gray city. So I actually started to produce a tropical house. So that's cool.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was actually very difficult because I just got recently, well, I mean, 1 month ago, but I was stuck in Peru during the shutdown.
Oh,
So all
yes.
the borders were shut. And then we
My
just
God.
ended up locked in a small village. I mean, not the worst place, but on the ocean, but there was nothing except ocean army and few people. That's
wow.
all. It was
Jesus,
quite scary, but my son let's say, luckily he stuck with me because otherwise it would be scary. But
so you
Wow.
were together during the whole adventure, let's say.
yeah. And I mean,
Because-
it took a long time to get an evacuation
Wow.
flights via different embassies, trying to get
So
out.
you literally like got stuck in South America.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
couldn't get back. Like,
No, I
my
couldn't
God.
even move out of the village to Lima, where I could potentially get an evacuation flight because there was no transport, and it was like 1,500 kilometers of desert in between. So it was and no
My
food. Like,
God.
really.
Were
no
you?
food.
How did you get stuck there? Like, were you on tour or were you on holiday?
Yeah, I was in South American tour, and I was that 2 weeks break in between the first part and the second. So I
Oh
went
my
to
God.
that village in Peru to just come down, and then the Peruvian president basically in the space of 4 hours he said, okay, all the borders shut, nobody moves anywhere. That's it. Like everything was so brutal, and we get kicked out from the place we were staying. So we had to find a new place, and nobody were accepted. It was crazy trip. So the moment I got to Berlin near my studio, I had like an euphoric moment of yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to be back in my studio and just do things now.
I'm having some fun reading the chat. Sorry. So yeah, everyone, please help me finding a bloody alias for my Tropical House project, please. I want Dasha and Colleen to like cross sing, please, like making some chords and stuff. Like, and Joachim at the percussions. How about that?
That's a deal, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll
We're gonna
think
be
about
famous.
it. A tropical
finally
Luca.
Finally famous.
Yeah.
I'll play the triangle
Yes, exactly.
or cowbell.
Yeah. And smile when you're doing it.
I go for Maracas.
Dasha, may I ask you?
We're done. We're done already. We did it.
Yeah, we got it. We are famous already. Wow! Like, so let's find a name. Okay, that's a mission of tonight. By the end of the few hours we speak, we have a name. Dasha, what is? As I can see your studio in the back, could you tell us something about how your studio is done? I'm super curious. Actually, I've never been to your studio. So,
yeah, maybe you can see it. So on my right side, I don't know. I don't want to move the computer because I'm afraid that some cables go off. And then, so basically, on my right side, I have everything what's non-sequenced, all the synthesizers, whatever, and then a few sequences like Dark Time, Octatrack, to go. Like I have Nordrak, Vermona drum machine, then P12, then I don't know, MK2 Performa. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
And then few models. I mean, I'm not so modular nerd yet. I'm still discovering stuff. And a few things like Mother 32 recently I got. Well, the old cork, it's not so interesting. And then on the other side, I don't know if I should turn, but if I fade out, I don't know, like if you can see, it's all the drummer setups and some basically sequence stuff, mostly, there was internal sequencers and stuff, and some effects there.
There we go.
Oh, the suspense.
Yes. She must have.
I knew it, so that's why I didn't want to go. So I just describe you. So some sequence stuff, some effects there, and in front of me is like mixer. So all the both sides go into the mixer, and some.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you which mixer do you use? Because I'm also a mixer obsessed kind of person.
It's Alien and his Z basically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
36 channels only, so it's like So not so high tech, but
I hear. I mean, I like the sound.
But I'm pretty happy with it. So
Yeah. Are you using the same, Colleen?
I use a Soundcraft 32.
Cool.
So, not like wow.
I had
Can't
for a
afford
while.
a good one.
But it's not only about the mixers.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for sure. Yeah, it depends how what you use it for. Let's say.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, you should visit Lucy if you just you can come
Definitely,
by
yeah.
when you're back. So.
I normally use like the classic Midas, for like when I need like some cleaner, just like summing things, and then I have some like dirty, nasty valve shit for just like 2, 3 channels, through 2 or 4 channels when
Like
I
what?
need to. It's like a couple is like one couple of strip channels are this TL Audio, this company
Yeah,
that bankrupted a few years ago, which is like
Never used it.
it has always been considered by, let's say, the gear maniacs like super low end stuff, but I find it like extremely rusty, dusty, and colored, and can be
Is it
super interesting.
are these the white ones or the blue ones? Because
Is the I think it's called Fat Bastard or something
oh,
like
okay,
that.
okay, right.
Yeah. And the other two, it's actually like a custom thing that I found in years, many years ago in a shop in New York, actually, which is like a custom like a stereo tube channel strip. So, and that one is extremely really sensitive to which valve you use. So every time like I change the valve inside, it's like a different sound processor. You know what I mean? Like, so
Don't change them when they're hot, though.
no, don't change them when they're hot. You could fry your fingers.
Yeah, but also you can also ruin the tube.
Yeah, that's true.
The bulb, Yeah.
Yeah. I think I experienced that once, but so learned with pain. Yes, and well, actually, Joachim, it's weird because I'm thinking like every time we work together, we never ever actually use that mixing board behind you. What is that?
Yeah, we discussed it last week.
Yeah.
Is it a ghost? No.
No, it's a DDA desk.
Wow.
The DDA no longer exists, but I think they. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were bought by Clark Technic,
Uh-huh.
or the other way around. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're it's basically a very clean sounding desk. It's a British EQ kind of thing. Lots of routing possibilities. But yeah, I have used it, Luca, but during Stoor sessions. But yeah, for some reason the quickest way when we were working together, the quickest way was just to
No, but also
stream
with
everything
the
straight to disk. Yeah.
with the Zeitgeber stuff, we've always been like super kind of machine purist, like very little post processing about stuff actually, and really all about the synth itself, kind of.
Yeah.
So
And how
There's
do you?
so many ways to go around it. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
sorry.
yeah.
How do you record? Because I remember you were telling me about the sessions and you like the direct cut, and then how do you pick up? You pick up digitally everything, or you're still processing by the mixer?
No, yeah, sometimes through the mixer and basically just as a preamp EQ kind of thing. But most of the time, to be honest, I build the chains after each instrument, before it goes to the input of the computer. You see, there's this table behind me, in the middle of the studio. There's this this here. That's basically just a workstation where every time I start a new project, I build a new setup, because there's so much gear, you can never fit it in one setup. It's going to be this Frankenstein massive. But it just takes too much of your brain to know where everything is. Where I rather focus on making smaller setups and then completely understand what you're doing. Know the combination inside out, and then for example, with synths or drum machines, you just split out the individual outputs and build chains behind each. Just to color the sound or to build effects chains and stuff like that. And in that way, you have a setup which is easy to control because you've just built it. You know what's going on. You've just imagined how the routing is and everything. And everything is at your fingertips, so you don't have to move from one end to the other of the studio to if you want to touch this button to because you want this in the recording, this sweep or EQ or filter chains or change or something. Before I had bigger setups where everything was patch bayed and cabled up permanently, and it took us the speed out of the process. To be honest, I'd rather just keep it simple, simple enough at least to control. At the moment you are creating. So. And it works great. It's very productive. It's really fast,
And then you have like a distinct sound to each kind of project that you're doing. And maybe an EP has like a more cohesive sound and individual sound if you're kind of building up your own little.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a bunch of instruments hooked up, you basically have what's this?
No idea. That's not.
I think it's
here.
I think it's from the street. It's of course Palermo. So it's something from the street outside.
Some live, right.
We have our version, let's say, of the like gangsta hip hop in America. That's what we do, kind of thing. Yeah. So
to come back to your question, I like finding the edges of a simple setup. It makes you try harder to get out of the limited options, rather than just very quickly run to something that's going to rescue you. It makes you work harder on the machines that you're actually using, and it also makes you dive deeper into them and try to you get more out of it and get more into the fringes of what's possible with the setup, and at the same time, like you said, Colleen, it sort of makes everything coherent. So if you spend a week on this setup, it's going to have a recognizable palette of sound that it's all drawing from. At the same time, you can go to the extreme, so it might be you get a lot of variation out of it, basically. But quicker, because you have to do it with this smaller setup.
With two hands.
Two hands, yeah, that's right. You only have two hands.
For me, it was really moving to Berlin because I had to basically sell almost everything when I moved here. So I had to, my setup pared down so much, and everything in my setup is around, my studio is all around my live performances because I don't DJ, I'm only performing live. So what it forced me to do, in the same way that all the limitations of having a small amount of gear is actually more rewarding and more kind of fun, actually. And you come up with better, just better ideas the less you have. Again, you can't just go to the safe stuff. You have to be okay, well, what if I do that? And especially with Eurorack, that's where it really comes in handy, that if you really limit yourself to the amount of things that you're using at one time.
Yeah, I agree. Some limitations are nice. You can focus.
Yeah, they're essential.
It keeps coming back in these chats. It keeps coming back every time. The restriction is as much a very important thing in being productive as the gear itself.
It's not an amount of gear that counts anyway, so it's just you can do, I always say, you can do great tracks with just
sitting
spoons.
in these
That's a problematic too.
Finish the chat. The chat's over.
Well, I at the moment I'm only when I'm in the studio, it's not even I produce, I just play with things. I just got I don't know if you know this Morphogen. I really like, but I just sample little things, slice them, and just sit there exploring this one bit. Well, with few processing, but it's not really I can spend hours and hours just on one little thing, and enjoy that. So
I got a sample drum.
This is this is connecting what we're what we were talking about. Question from Ken Sheldon. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Ken.
What drives the choice of what you pick to put on the table for your next setup? And that he says it's addressed to everyone else. So that's a good question, to be honest, because how do you choose what machine to turn on as a first thing, or what to connect, or where to go to when you start making start a new project. You know, what's the is there a favorite you always return to, or do you
Very
Very
tricky
difficult
question.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
well, I
think
can
it's-
answer it.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm,
can I?
you know, it's usually I come up with a system. You know, what if I run this through this and control it with that, and you know, have it split it up and do something else. You know, just an idea about a signal flow thing, and then that is basically the first thing I try to do with it. But I've got a very short attention span, so once it's running, I'll just be tweaking the hell out of it and just see what I stumble upon. You know, I would say that a lot of the things I do are system first, and then stumble upon things that I can use as an idea. So I never start out saying, okay, this is going to be the kind of track or the kind of piece of music I want to make. My starting point is usually the method or the system, and then some stuff will come out of it, of course, and that's where I go with, you know, until I find a moment when, you know, this the aha moment, or the moment you really get into what you are doing or what you are hearing. That's where I go with, you know, whether it's you know, crazy shit or a very straightforward track or whatever, you know. That's the you got to set it on fire somehow, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that process, but I also have that process where I actually come up with the idea first, like, you know, what which sound particularly I would like to work or achieve, or which direction I would like to go, or sometimes even if it's like trying something with a spoken word, so it comes from word, and then I would just, you know, like make this theoretical idea and then search for the instrument which would fit to express whatever I want to express, like in terms of texture of the sound, or it's like, but I can relate to both, like sometimes just twiggling and just something comes in the process, and sometimes it's the opposite. You choose the gear for a specific reason, wherever you have something in head.
I normally go by like kind of phase, meaning like I get I normally get like really obsessive of one tool, one instrument, or a few, really 2-3 machines, and that's when I squeeze my brain for literally like 6 months or something like this, until I get like really to the point that I squeezed out so much of my creativity through those tools that I feel there's really nothing else to squeeze, and then that's when I block, you know, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't do anything anymore, and so I swap the setup in that moment, and I'm like, okay, new, like, and I completely forgot, I don't know, that particular synth drum machine and stuff for like another year and a half, you know what I mean? And then I cycle it. That's a good way for me to.
What's your current
current
selection?
setup? It's actually the what is it called? This one from Waldorf. The come on, it's a classic.
Wavetable synth.
Yeah, it's a wavetable synth. It's called XT. Yes.
Oh, the orange one.
Yeah. Not the orange
Which
one.
one?
Wait, hang on. Let me.
The white
Google
one,
it.
or which one?
The yellow one. The Waldorf
The yellow?
2.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, which is something like, I don't know, a machine. This is actually the first time I'm diving really deep into it. It's a fucking crazy thing. Like really, like I'm loving it. I'm playing with that with a few, like a kind of a custom Eurorack drum system, you know, where I'm using not actually drum modules, but just like very simple, like one sine wave or one square wave filtered kind of toms and percussion, you know, one per each channel, let's say. And I tuned it and tweaked it so that it's kind of a complete drum machine, but it sounds super interesting to me. And some effects. That's it for now. Like really, I'm going like with a lot of dubbing on the mixer, like live dubbing. Yeah, and it's actually this Waldorf Q is, to be honest, really incredible. Like once you get into its language, it's like wow. I tried once again in my life to dive really deep into the octatrack. It's really, there's something, I think there are some people that play the octatrack and some people that don't play the octatrack.
Yeah.
I'm like the person that
I
can't
use
play
it
the
a lot as
octatrack.
just a MIDI sequencer, but like for the audio, I couldn't say. But
Yeah.
like from the Electron guys, I actually got not long time ago the Digitact, and I'm happy with it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
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 The octatrack is not an instrument with a single purpose. It can be used in so many ways.
In so many ways, man.
Yeah.
Recently, I'm actually an interesting use I'm finding is really as a MIDI sequencer. Like really with if you start to play with the arpeggiator of the octatrack in the right way, it's like extremely bloody powerful. Like
the cool thing about it is that all the intervals are musical intervals. So
exactly.
you can if you set it in the right on the right numbers, they're all divisions. They're all divisions or multiples from the main tempo. It's
from definitely, and also like chromatically speaking. So by notes, it can work the same as a mega quantizer kind of thing. Like I don't know.
So many ways to use it.
True.
I don't know anybody who uses everything on the octatrack. Everybody has a single specific purpose for it. Some people use it
just
as
that one guy, Data Line, the guy that makes the tutorials. Like he's a fucking genius. When you see him playing with it, you're like, what? Like,
he is the best.
He's amazing. Yeah, I actually met him in Berlin. They actually opened a new office in Berlin, like a new kind of showroom. Yeah, in the Friedrichstraße.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, I did. They had a performance. They did in the beginning. Like I did some. They had like a performance, so I was able to perform at that studio.
I actually did too. Like I did
amazing.
one of the opening events.
Yeah,
I did like this
so
thing
fun.
where I was like kind of passing, like I was playing with the gong, passing it live through the octatrack.
Really?
It was really kind of like really weird. But I'm not sure what people got from that because everyone was like. But it was
That's perfect. That's the ideal reaction.
Really fun. Yes.
I wanted to just say, because we talked about the sequencing of the octatrack, but the sequence, I don't know, I'm sure you know it, guys, but like the Eloquencer, that was my highlight of the year because I got it this year, and I really like the probability function, how you do, like you can create such a complex little things with it. It's like I enjoy it really much. But not for everything. But
that's the A-track, Eurorack sequencer. Looking
it's
into
really
that.
nice. It's really nice, and basically, you can set to like microtones, and then also if you do rhythms, like the probability notes, where one note hit wherever. It's just so good. Like you really can create nice polyrhythms, and it's like it's a lot of like precious kind of thing.
Nice.
Really enjoy that one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've been listening a lot with sample. Like I watched this documentary about hip hop, and I was so inspired by the sampling technique. So I've been really working on that for the past like 6 months. I'm like you, Luca. I get everything out of one machine. And then I have to move on.
And then you move on to...
Yeah, I'm definitely at a point where I need a new sequencer because I'm hitting a wall with what I have. You get to this point where you're like, you need some different way of making your brain work so it snaps you into something else.
You made me...
I quite enjoy the dark time as well. For
I was
really?
about to talk about the dark time. Like you stole my word, crazy. Like I was just saying, like, one thing that I didn't say before when you asked me what's your actual setup, when Joachim asked me, it was like the dark time. I have like two that I kind of put together. You can screw them together, and it makes like this kind of mega 4-line sequencer that you can interface to each other in a. I don't know. It's like.
But how do you put them together?
You take out the side wood. open
yeah.
the back,
Yeah.
and then you can screw them together. And I made like this.
But does it work for more steps?
No,
then?
no.
Okay,
You
that's what I
don't.
was.
You don't.
Yeah.
I didn't link them like
Yeah,
hard
okay,
link them.
Okay, I
But you
misunderstood
can
that.
consider that with the controls you have of
Yeah.
start, stop, resets, gates in, and stuff like this.
Yeah.
You can actually
Yeah.
make it work like that, so that like you have
Yeah, I
the
guess
first
so.
line, second line, third line, fourth line, if that's what you want. Like
Yeah.
I normally use it like that. I have like the first two going at two kind of scales of speed, and the other two at two other like much lower ones, so that like the latter two start to sequence the first two, and you have like this endless kind of Donato like evolutions, melodic evolutions. It's really interesting, right?
Nice.
Yeah, the cool thing about the Dark Time is also that it has the right balance between really understand what's going on at the moment, but also very
accident.
easy to flip some switches, or do some random very small things, and you come up with something completely new, or it has this factor of playfulness or unexpectedness to it. It's a really fun. I don't actually own one, but the Clouds guys brought it to my studio when we were working together. And it's so fast, it's really quick. I love it.
What I do with it sometimes, I actually parallel it via little MIDI splitter, send the same notes, but then each instrument is just like overlaying each other with the same sequence, but basically it creates some sort of phase. You can even use the same box, like I don't know, little mum, this clone of CB303, like that one. Yeah. So you can take two of them and send basically the same signal, the same pattern, but actually tweak them, and so they create kind of weird, harmonically weird things.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Yeah.
That's cool.
Like basically repeating it, but then you shift, whatever the tonality of the other one, I don't know, 12 semitones or something, and it just goes a little crazy.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Dasha, there is one for you there.
Yeah, Frank Semi. Hey, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Dasha, is that Verbola performance? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking. I was actually thinking the same. Is that a performer? But I thought they were. I thought there were more units, 19-inch units. Is it only four rack units? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's small. I actually I don't have one, but I used one. I actually Mike Studio when we did that EP together, and it's a super powerful machine. This thing that you can use it as a kind of 4-voice synth, which the 4-voice architecture is something that always fascinated me.
Separate.
Exactly, or separate. It's like super cool. Or like when you start going, if you tune them almost at the same time, and then you go with the random, that each voice start to go create. Like it's really, really interesting. Like very cool stuff. By the way, guys, just one thing, okay? I know it's a little bit. Some people would take it a little politically. But my eyes fell on some comments about women talking about electronic music equipment. What is the word coming to? Those are not welcome comments, okay? Just get off the chat, clean it up, okay?
I saw that. I think that the person was being sarcastic.
Okay,
maybe it's a joke.
I kind of thought maybe I was like,
let's make clear that I guess I can talk for the four of us here. That's not the place. Okay.
It's actually Fred Gianelli. And we should say hi because Fred is a nice guy. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he was. I thought that was a joke.
Okay.
You remember? Here we go, Fred. Hey, Fred. No sexist comments here, please.
Thank you, Fred.
I'm sure he was
but I'm sure you did a minute in that one.
Yeah.
Fred used to do things under the name of Cookie Scientist. Remember that from the early Plus 8 days?
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I see.
Nice.
Okay, Fred was being sarcastic. Okay, we got that out of the way. I really love the 4-voice architecture, because like I remember like one of the first things since I fell in love with was like actually maybe the first guy that really the first friend that really like taught me how to use synthesizers. I was like 18 or something, and
I got to be in this like kind of realm of stuff. He had like this weird collection. It was like in a tiny village in Tuscany, and he had this massive collection of stuff. And he had the Oberheim 4 voice. It's still a synth of a power that I rarely experienced in my life.
There's
And
nothing
there
like
was
there's nothing like a 4 voice. Nothing.
There
like
is nothing. It's like investing. Like I don't know. It's like an impact that it's just like it's a really emotional to me almost when I think about it. And it's like I looked for that synth for years. It's super hard to find or to buy.
Oh,
I
dude,
haven't
they're
heard
really
that.
expensive now. They're really expensive.
Yeah, I guess so. But I never even heard any clone that remotely sounds similar to that. You know what I mean? It's like even people that put like the classic Oberheim single SEM units, like nothing, even like the pieces, the same pieces, put one on the side of the other, that cannot sound like that machine. You know what I mean? And so the Perfumer was the only thing that kind of reminded me of the same way of working in 4 voices, like let's say half in unison and half in more like randomizing ways, which is super cool. Like, so yeah. You like it? You use it a lot, Dasha?
Not a lot. I only use it in the studio. When I got it, I thought I'm going to implement it into my live set, but no, still like not certain value to me. Yeah, I mean, I still playing around and record some things, but then I would sample it and just import it somewhere or something. Yeah.
So Dasha and Colleen, you play live quite a lot. Do you have a second touring setup, or you actually unscrew your studio and take stuff on the road, or?
I usually try to get it on a technical, right?
Okay.
I mean, not everything, but like Octatrack, I actually ask my technical ride. I just come with my card, or like stuff like that. Of course, something that you can, but then everything it's not replaceable, or memory wise, so you can, and it's always changing. So I don't have a regular.
What's your experience with getting an Octatrack on your rider? Because they are pretty fragile machines,
I must say most of the time it's totally fine. Like 95%, I didn't have a problem. Only once there was something wrong, the card reading, and there was something didn't work, but it was not that significant,
Right.
So yeah, I didn't have really a difficult problem with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, Colleen, you travel with a case of Eurorec stuff and
I do.
And some bits and pieces.
I take
this you cannot ask for on a rider.
Exactly. You're like, okay, these modules. I try to I like to bring everything myself because I don't trust anyone I don't anything. So, but I have all double power supplies and cables. So then that makes the biggest difference in the world. If you can just unplug and just put the gear away it's like that's all the difference in the world. The double power supplies is something that is essential, so you don't have to break apart everything. So I don't want to put it back together, and then you don't do anything. So it's like stops you from being
That's
lazy.
super cool. you could use it. It's a totally good idea. You
mostly use the modular stuff, so right?
Yeah, just one rack, and then now I've gotten it down. I started actually. I did a performance on horror on radio, and it was the first time I used a DJ mixer, and so now I have a little sub mixer. Like I actually like Yamaha mixers. I think they sound really good for live. So I have this little tiny Yamaha, then just the Yomox like kick drum module, that's standalone one, my case, and then I also have the Electron machine drum, but I use just as a sampler. Like I basically use it like an Octatrack, like a very inconvenient, very difficult
clumsy.
Yes, the machine drum, the awkward Octatrack.
The awkward Octatrack.
The inconvenient Octatrack.
It's very accurate.
Oh yeah, So it's just basically I wanted to have like my biggest goal of live is my live setup is to have like nothing. That's because it's so much less stressful. So now I'm getting even further down to nothing. So this is my goal. It's just one case. But
how convenient, you know, with the USB stick DJs. I mean, I sometimes do the CDJ gigs, you know, and I always feel like I'm cheating, you know, because I'm walking in there with just a pair of headphones and a USB stick.
Yeah,
it's like, oh.
Yeah, but it's still the performance, you know. It's still how you play. I don't think it's cheating.
Yeah, but I'm just so used to, you know, logging stuff around and doing sound checks and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
it feels a bit weird for me at least, you know. It is convenient though.
Yeah, if depending on the tour
but sound checks are so stressful. I always get really stressed during sound checks for some reason.
But no sound check is more stressful.
Yeah.
No sound check. Yeah. I had few experience with no sound check. I really don't want to do it anymore. Like you just no.
But Dasha, when Colleen was saying, like, you know, she brings everything because she doesn't trust the promoters and stuff. But what is your experience when you ask stuff for the rider? Do you normally actually find them on stage, or?
Yeah, well, I say most of the time it's fine, it works. But I mean, I don't ask something very complicated, or you know, it's like octatrack mix or whatever. Sometimes I ask for the effects, like, or if I have to travel in US or somewhere, like it's just I can't bring everything, and I mean it's like for. You know, it also depends on the live set, you know, if it's experimental show or if it's techno show, if it's like, it's every time different. But let's say in the globally and everything, 60% or 70%, no problem. But I had problem in Paris where they couldn't find octatrack in Paris. And we were like, seriously?
What?
So, yeah, seriously. And then, you know, a person who helped me, she just posted on Facebook, hey guys, anyone has octatrack in 2 minutes, no problem, you know? So, you know, I guess some promoters just don't make efforts, but some, or maybe they, I don't know, whatever. But mostly there's rental companies. If it's a big event, they able to rent. So of course, if it's a small club, then, you know, I bring more. It depends, you know. But yeah, for the past time, I mostly DJ, so I do lives at time to time. So it's I guess, you know, the fact that it's not so often anymore, so it's more prepared and like not really problematic.
Colleen, can I ask you something? Like, because now we were talking about big shows, Dasha was saying big shows, and it came to my mind, like some comments I read there. I'm also super curious about your story with Lady Gaga, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Are you up to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
Like how was it when you did, like, you were kind of making opening live acts for concerts for a while, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you kind of change your kind of way you were working on the live for that, or how would that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess.
There's two, like, because her and I have been friends we were friends for like 15 years or something now. So, you know, we started out, you know, when we were in New York, and she wasn't even, you know, just working on her music to begin with for any record deal or anything. And so I was a go-go dancer and a heavy metal DJ.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know that part.
Oh yeah.
Good combination as well.
Whoa.
Yeah,
go-go dancer and heavy metal DJ. Nice one.
Exactly.
You just, I'm just typing that down because that's the name of a track for the future.
It's the name of my album. So from that unlikely place, and then you think, okay, well, what could possibly, you know, metal DJ and go-go dancer going hand in hand with a pop, you know, musician. But like, so her and I were good friends through a mutual friend, and she was like, you know, do you want to maybe, you know, I'm going to be performing here, and do you want to maybe come on stage and DJ metal, like, during my show? Wow. And I was like, sure, why not? I never say no to, like, a performance opportunity, but like, somebody's just like, hey, do you want to do? It's like, okay. So I like to just go for it. You know what I mean? If you have an opportunity, you've never done it before. So I'm a firm believer in saying yes to any opportunity, especially if it's something you'd never do. So then that kind of really worked, actually, oddly enough. And so then, you know, she went on to get her record deal, and, you know, and then as soon as, you know, we remained friends, and then as soon as she was able to have a bit more control with her career, she was like, hey, do you want to come open my tour with some DJing metal? I was like, yes, okay, I'll do that too. So I started out on 3 different tours with her. The first one was DJing metal. The second one, I was doing performance art to like progressive rock music.
What year are we talking about?
This is like 2010, 2011, and then, or 2012, and then 2014 was the year that I was playing techno.
Yeah.
And MedSurgeon.
Yeah.
So then performance art, super alien. I mean, everybody was like, what the fuck is actually this? It was very unpopular, but it was okay. I knew people were going to hate it. But there was like, you know, those 3 people in the audience that were like, wow, what is this? You know, that's what it was worth it, because it's all like young people at the shows. And I think it's really exciting to be able to bring techno to an audience who doesn't know it, you know, and they're young. And it was really, really cool to be able to bring that to people who might not find it any other way. So at all my shows, I would always talk about the artists that I really like in techno, you know, a bit of like, you know, to give the audience something to search, like when they got home, so they weren't just like, oh, that was boring, you know. They were like, okay, if anybody liked it, they could find out more about techno. So that was really fun, and I was really great. I feel very fortunate to be in that position, to be able to.
I think you and Shin, you know, do you remember Shin? It was releasing on Stroboscopic like in the early years. Are the only 2 techno artists that I know that at some point in their career really went full on into heavy metal stuff, because actually
a lot of people.
I don't like. I was just very. I remember when at some point, you know, we just like kind of you know, our taste in music got like a little bit like this, so it was not releasing anymore on Stroboscopic since a while. And at some point I saw like his Shin metal album dropping. I was like, what?
So he went from techno to metal.
You know? But with the same artist name. It wasn't a side project. He literally released a metal album. Like
from all the guitar music styles, heavy metal is probably the closest. To because it's very sound designy in a way as well, and very you know,
absolutely.
very
percussive.
Like beat driven, and you know, very chunky and
true.
What about all of you? What other like music you know, did you listen to growing up? Like what really kind of set you on the path to non-techno music that was hugely influential? That I'm curious about for all of you.
The Jamaican dub for me, full on. Like the Lee Perry was for me like the life changer, like Lee Scratch Perry. Like I don't think the like maybe like as big as, I don't know, Portishead or Aphex Twin as an influence, but Lee Perry was really something beyond for me. Like it was you know, when you listen to something, you're like I got it. I know what it is to make music, and this is like, you know, the way. You know what I mean? Like, and you really start to figure yourself out, having similar creative processes. That was for me like early albums of Lee Perry, and pretty much all of the Black Ark Studio output, like all the releases from the Black Ark Studio before it burned down to the ground. Like because it did. They say he left the joint on and left the studio, and that's how it happened. But that was for me maybe the biggest one.
I can hear that. Actually in your music. I hear that.
Thank you. I take it as a.
For me, what did I say? I mean, I listen to all genre of music, but I mean, classical music. At some point, there was a classic music that I enjoy. But then I went also interested when I discovered music concrete. So more experimental, let's say.
You did that. you made a lot of I think live and projects that were really contaminated by classical music, right? Am I
No,
wrong?
not really. I mean, I made some
Contaminated.
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 Not really classical because I had some collaborations where I involve let's say classical musicians, but by instrument like cello or something. But it was
Yeah.
not fully classical. You can't call it classical. It was kind of a merge of things. Like last year we did a performance where it's called Shake Your Classics. It's an organization in France in Lyon that organize mixed genre, I don't know, mixed genre events where they invite new classics, like new classic musician and electronic musicians. So that I did the project with Schloss Mirabel. She's a cello player, like classical trained player, cello player, and we kind of did already a few concerts with her where it's just kind of a merge, but we're based on basically my compositions, but then I would set the partition and we transport it to cello or something like this. Kind of, it's a mixture of things. So it's not fully classical because I'm not classically trained musician, so I can't really go that far.
Is actually any of you academically trained in music?
No,
I'm
not really.
No,
not
I'm
really.
No.
No, only the beginning. But no. Terrible, yeah.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny. Sometimes I actually miss that part because there is something that I'd like to do, like write a score on something but then I'm not able to do it properly. So I'm like, oh, I wish I could have had more education. But then on the other hand, it was very interesting to talk, for example, with Florina, cello player. She's a classically trained musician, and she started doing also electronic music. And she was telling me about her path, how she had to distract herself from such a rigid, the way she said, such a rigid approach, always following, the classical kind of approach to music. And it took her a while before she could liberate herself and just do more intuitively, and especially. So, I mean, there are so many ways, and I guess. But yeah, in terms of music that I listen, I like classical music a lot, but then, I like this kind of, my favorite composer is Ligeti, and I find his music actually unpleasant. It's not the music, not all of it. Some of it is, very classical and pleasant, but some of it is just so complete. And the first time I heard, I thought it was him composed electronically, but it was actually an orchestra recorded. So the sound, it was incredible. So yeah. And that kind of music also triggers me, or when I discover musique concrète and a French composer, Pierre Schaeffer. I mean, mostly he was in krautrock, but then my revelation was, I was about, I think, 18, and I heard his composition that called, in English, I think it's translated a symphony for the doors and whistles or something like this. It's basically a samples of like screeching doors, like but composed into a complex piece of music. And it was a revelation for me. It was like, music can be that way, seriously. Like it was something. So I kind of got into that kind of stuff, and but also I love 80s pop, and so all genres. Well, I don't know much about metal though. but I have a funny story about metal, because my neighbors, or my ex-neighbors in the studio, they were a heavy metal band, and once we had a funny chat, and I was like, well, I don't know much about different genres, like what's the black metal, what's heavy metal, what's the difference. And they actually try to explain me in my terms. They're like, look, this like heavy metal is like techno, or death metal is like house, or whatever. I don't remember exactly. And it was very funny. It was very funny. So, but I mean,
actually, it's great that we're speaking about this.
What about you, Joachim? What kind of music?
I listen to everything, literally everything. But I'm most attracted to stuff that that blows my mind. Stuff that I don't understand. Stuff that is something that is so far removed from how I approach music. How myself. So it could be anything. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I was there when the earliest sort of early electro, and after that, breakdance music and hip hop started. One of my all-time heroes still is Schooly D from New York. You know Schooly D?
No,
I just not first. I wish I knew him, but no.
Look it up. There's a track called PSK. Just look it up on YouTube.
Schooling
It's a 909 with shitloads of reverb and some him very stone rapping over it and very sloppy scratching and everything. I love it.
What is the title?
Not from Philly.
What's the title again?
He could be from, I don't know, to be honest, if he's from Philly or New York. But
This is the one with the delay on the like. It has like a weird delay and reverb. Just
no, there's no delay, but it's just drowned in reverb basically. It's
okay.
And
what is the title, Joachim?
PSK. The
PSK.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
I think it's the same I'm thinking of.
Right.
Where somebody said like if he tried to go in the studio again and take the reverb off of it, and then somebody was like, if you do that, I'm gonna shoot you.
Oh yeah. So apparently Schoolie's from Philly. Anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you. But anyway, I'm not the whole sort of early East Coast hip hop thing was a big influence on me. I kind of lost it when West Coast started doing gangster rap. I was into that for a little bit, but I was just really into the drum machine, 808s and just really rough and very very minimal stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean that's just one thing I grew up with. It's like I guess everybody who's in their late teens or early 20s kind of have this moment when you discover your own music, which is not on the charts or played on the radio or at your folks' house or whatever. And that was for me. That was electro and hip hop. And then when house and acid and stuff started happening in the late 80s, that was the next thing that absolutely blew my mind because it was so unlike anything else I'd ever heard. It was just what the hell is this,
Yeah.
And so every time I discover something new, like Dasha, I listen to a lot of music concrete or electroacoustic type stuff, but it's the main thing, or classical music, but the main thing is does it blow my mind or not? Something that is that puts everything in such a different perspective that you start thinking about it. It's it needs to be challenging.
Yeah.
I don't like music that is not challenging.
Yeah, I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's hard to always listen challenging music, to be honest. Sometimes, I think an approach of probably non-musician, but a person who just listens to music is just an emotional impact. It touches you or not. So you're not necessarily analyzed. So it doesn't have to be challenging in terms of, but yeah, I guess.
I'm not saying that I'm always listening to things, with just trying to be
crazy.
I listen to everything, but the stuff that the moments when my mind gets blown are the ones that I remember, and you know what I mean. It's like it's that's what music can do to you, which is great.
Yeah.
Is there like an album that I'm asking all of you, like one album that or one track that you like? I wish I was the producer of this.
Oh, so many.
But there must be one that really.
There are actually a lot of things that come out, and I think, oh shit, I had that idea, but I never pursued it,
Yeah.
And then, oh shit, somebody else did it, and despite the fact that I had the same idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, that happens. I don't know. I don't regret it though.
Could you name one particular track?
Yeah, but Bach, cello. Number one. Sorry. Well, okay. In someone more close, just at some point, I was really. I think Bjork also very amazing artist, very interesting, and the way she and like tracks like Pagan Poetry. I wish I made that track.
Yeah.
It's something more, nowadays. But otherwise,
Colleen, anything?
Well, for a techno track.
What again?
For techno track, it's like definitely Underground Resistance, The Final Frontier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best techno electro track ever, and I wish it was mine, but it's not. I'm going to keep trying to write it again, but it doesn't
trying
work.
to think about techno track now.
Yeah.
In terms of my favorite band is definitely Van der Graaf Generator. They're like everything. I listen to them all the time.
Yeah.
So a plague of lighthouse keepers. It's like 23 minutes. I think it's very techno. I think prog rock is very similar to techno. For me, that's a huge influence, except for the time signature. I'm trying to figure out how to do a time signature change in techno, but it's not worked yet. But I'll let you know.
Yes,
working on it. It'll be very unpopular.
Well, in terms of electronic music, I also admire a lot Biosphere. So I just really like his music so much. And I guess it's my favorite electronic musician, probably. Nice. But in terms of techno, I was really, I guess it's just smart because of the time and because I was discovering kind of, new, still fresh to techno or whatever. It's just it's from Robert Lina's Source Experience.
Nice.
That album. I think it's double or triple. What's the album name? I think it's the same name, Source or something. I really love that.
Nice.
I can't say I wish I would, but some favorite ones, for example.
Just listen to it over and over again.
I listen it stays in my favorite records. In terms of techno. Yeah. There are a lot. We cannot name it all. So
yeah.
What about you, Johan?
I was sort of looking in the comments, but I don't know. Yeah, I listen to so much stuff, and there's so much. I couldn't name any favorite thing, to be honest. It changes all the time.
True.
So, what about you, Lucy? Oh, you already told us about Lee Perry, right?
Yeah, Lee Perry
is a particular song.
It's about something I would have loved to do myself as Lucy. This was still this track from a really oldie one from Outtaker. That was called Second Bad Vibe. The one where Chris Cunningham made the video with the kind of semi-robotic organic.
The Chris Cunningham video.
Oh man, and that is something I don't know, when there's this super weird creepy pod coming in going with the tune up and down. To me it's still every time. I think I heard it literally 10,000 times in my life. It's still I'm always keep on being amazed, or those tracks that you're hearing again and again and again, and every time you're oh my god, was this in the track? Even
discovering something
new. Fucking elements, you're what? Was this thing in the track? I still rediscover it kind of.
That's a track with a tempo change, by the way. Colleen.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. It starts out fast, and then it sort of slows down, and then I think it's stays at half speed for some time.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's called the Second Bad Vibe. Colleen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's it starts in a way and then goes into, it's not even half tempo, because it goes
no, it's
from
just slower. I don't know, it's
because it goes from almost the classic 120 kind of mellow ambient
techno. It starts out electro-y and then it becomes dubby.
And then it becomes super breakbeat, I don't know, almost 90 BPM stuff. They've been really a ring between 90 BPM music and techno to me. Even the this remix they did for Debug, this what is it called? Hang on, let me check. Outtaker, Debug.
I'll be back in a second. I just get my cigarette.
Important stuff.
Skang with the voice. With the Skang. This is crazy shit, an insane remix, a really a ring between techno and hip hop culture,
nice.
In the best way ever. Yes. But Outtaker, Joachim, when you were speaking about something that is really blow your mind, also some of the not so early Outtaker stuff has a bit that effect to me, that it's so intense and so abstract that it's like beyond the normal abstract stuff that you hear everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
well, what I think they are really, really good at is that they are very on one hand they are very systematic and very mathematical almost, but it always retains this groove and vibe,
somehow.
how no matter how abstract it gets, it's always very musical, and
Yes.
it's I think they really nailed that balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just read one comment that said like, "I'll take out like that. Never hear the same track twice from them. Always changes in your head."
Yeah.
That's a very good way to express it. Pacific Voltage Club. Thank you. But that's exactly what I mean. Those tracks that are like, I can listen to them like 1,000 times.
Hello.
And hello.
Pacific Voltage Club.
Yes. And they keep changing. Like it's really like also like their first album, Amber. Like same thing. Like I can hear it like a million times. I will always find something different. I mean, even some of your early albums, Joachim, like has the same effects for me. Like the one you did in collaboration with Paradinas, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Slagboom van Loon, yeah.
Exactly. That one was like another big one for my teenage years, I gotta say. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Colleen, because I was before we were chatting, listening to some of your live sets, and the last time I saw you play live in Barcelona,
Yeah.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Your sound is so minimal and really ravey. Do you have at the same time, you know what I mean? So it's very stripped down, but it has a lot of energy, and it's almost like the perfect techno club music, because it's loopy. No, serious. No. But I mean, it's not overly complicated, but it works like crazy. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That means so much coming from you.
Well, no, that's why I really like that sound. But what I was wondering, what do you have any way to treat samples, or because every time I hear you use a sample, it sounds so rough and almost like degraded or anything, like
that's the machine drum.
Is it?
Yeah. All of my samples come from that, so it's like
that's the awkward,
horrible. Yeah, it's 12-bit and just so yeah. Okay. I actually and then I also have now I have like I've changed my in the past few months my live set has changed significantly because I got the Erica Synth sample drum sampler. So now I have two Tip Top 1, and those are for like, so I have two
they're one shot samplers, basically.
And two looping. So I have two looping synths, and then I have two more like lead bass kind of percussive sequencing options. So they both kind of require, all of my samplers are very low quality, not low quality, but like, so it's just kind of that way.
Yeah.
I think like bad sampling is the key to my sound.
No, but it definitely,
it
definitely works. I recently picked up one of these, or not recently, but one of these SP303s, you know them?
Oh, yeah.
They are amazing just to have, to record samples into, and then even to make tracks, entirely in the machine is amazing.
Yeah.
And you can make it sound so crunchy, and there's these really cheapo effects on it. Compression and EQ, and you can resample and pitch the fuck out of it. It's you can get so dirty with these machines. It's amazing.
It's a Boss machine, right?
Yeah, it's the Boss SP303, and there's a 404 as well.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
SP404 SX. That's something I frequently use that actually, but it broke, and I don't know how to get it fixed. So if anybody out there can fix my SP404 SX. It would be awesome because I really miss it.
Any,
And then you can do the
Oh
samples.
yeah,
at, like,
can we
different
make an
pitches.
announcement for fixing?
Yeah.
I need to fix the tube tech compressor. Anyone can do it, please.
Comments, please.
yeah, what's going on in the comments, people? Are there any fixers?
Hey guys, yeah,
Make
if you
yourself
know,
known.
yeah.
Yeah. I think Jay Dilla was using a lot the 303 if I'm not wrong. I heard that he was like really into it, and that there was this. I'm not sure if it's even a true story or not, but I know at some point he was like in a hospital for a while, and he made pretty much like an amazing whole album in the hospital with headphones and 303 sampler. So yeah,
Nice.
that's pretty impressive if you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a whole YouTube category or scene with people just making lo-fi hip hop with these small little crappy boxes.
Yeah.
No, but they do sound amazing. There's so much vibe in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so hard. It's actually like learning how to. That's also what I've been focusing on in the past year or so. Is sourcing. Sampling is just such a. It takes so much time to learn how to do it well. You know what I mean? And like, where do you go? You know, the creativity that you can have with where you hear. You know, it's like a totally different part of your brain than synthesis. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. There's so much like options of where to pull sounds from, and
that's cool.
And then how to transform them. And I love modular samplers because then, you know, it just would do something that you would never think to do on your own. And a lot of, depending on what you're using to sequence, I'm using the Verbose Electronics voltage multi-stage from these samplers. So, you know, you can't control really much of anything on it. You don't know what's going to happen. So you're like, hope it sounds good. And while it's live, I'm like, oh, no. Oh, well. Well, cool. So I love just it's really been fun for me in the past maybe 8 months.
Dasha, were you speaking about the morphology? No, that's also some kind of new school.
I want that.
Yeah, it's just like sampler granular thing, but you can really twist and resample on top and resample on top, so it creates really crazy little. But like I slot at the moment as my main toy I discovered. So it's more about these textures and how you can deconstruct sounds, and it's very interesting. Yeah, but I also like well, if we're not talking about the gear, but little apps, or there's a lot of crazy apps on for iPad, and there's one called iDensity. It's also granular sampler, and have six sound sources, so you can load your own sounds, and really it does amazing things as well. You can there's so many possibilities, and it's just little thing for iPad, but it sounds amazing. Actually, recently I got the should I make a critics? I don't know, Tasty Chips, you know.
It's a Dutch company.
Yeah, and I tried. Maybe I didn't spend enough time on it, but I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, it probably depends on what you want to do. If you really want to have this kind of dirt and this kind of compressed, kind of crispy stuff, then it works perfectly. But then if you want to change to slightly, let's say, smooth or kind of really vague tonality things, and it just doesn't work for me. Like, and I was comparing the same, my own samples, comparing the same with this little app, and actually for some reason it worked better the iPad than. But I mean, that's just my experience, and so
Now, what is Tasty Chips? What is it?
It's like I'm gonna bring it.
Okay.
It's a polyphonic tabletop granular synth, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's made by a bunch of Dutch guys. I haven't tried it though, but it looks really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's basically a granular synthesizer, a sampler granular synthesizer that and I bought it because whatever, I put it away. Because I like the fact that it's a box and the hardware aspect, so you can really tweak the knobs and kind of that tactile instead of doing things and plug the controller for the iPad. So, but in terms of sound, like sound processing, it still didn't really convince me yet. I mean, it's a great idea, great tool, but maybe I should spend more time in it, I would say.
You never know when you get back to certain tools. So
And I mean, sometimes you look like I looked at some videos presenting that, and people did such a great things. That's what I need. And I mean, I'm particularly searched for something, in Granular synthesis, kind of a box, and I was like, that's exactly what I need. But maybe, I need more time with it.
I have a love-hate relationship with Granular because it always sounds like Granular synthesis. It's very, very difficult to make it sound unlike. The technology always shines through in the sound. I mean, it's amazing. You can do amazing, sort of paddy or evolving, sort of ambient kind of textures.
Asymmetric stuff.
It's great, but you always end up with in that area. It's always the atmospheric side of things, but it's lovely though.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I really like when granular sampling is used not in a non-drone ambient way,
in rhythmical way. You can also do some crazy.
It's like crazy shit, and also like voice processing. It's pretty intense. I don't know. There's I don't know if it's like one of my favorite like producers and live acts at the moment are like this band called Amnesia Scanner. And the way they process vocals, it's pretty impressive. I suspect there's a lot of granular sampling behind it, but it's
But in which way the process vocal, like they treat full vocal partitions, or the way they
I think they somehow like they multi-layer different things. So there's like one long line, because it's still like kind of putting a big ear towards pop music, what they do, you know what I mean? So there are always like very recognizable lyrics and entire singing parts and stuff like this. But the same thing is then like multi-layered in ways that makes the sound goes like really three-dimensional. You know what I mean? Like kind of
the texture of the actual vocal.
Yeah, like imagine a cubist painting. That's how you hear the voice. Like that's what I'm trying to say. It's a bit tricky to describe it in words, but
this is an interesting question from Black Market Droid Smith. Hello, Black Market Droid Smith.
Hello.
Black Market Droid Smith.
What is your favorite modulator? What do you make things to move?
What is your favorite modulator? What do you use to make things move? Yes. Actually, I got the favorite one, or the most complex one is the Rossum Electronics Control Forge, which is
I don't know what it is.
It's insane. It's really insane. It's like a multi-stage envelope generator, but each stage can be programmed basically, and you can time it. So the time it runs through all the stages, or not all the stages, but the stages you set to be playing, can be set, and there's just absolutely any possible waveform you can imagine with any length can be made up from that machine, from that thing.
Right.
So
can you write down the name in the chat?
Can I? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
Citronella's not working anymore. More citronella.
Yeah, because I don't
Check it out.
know. I didn't came across that. What is it?
Did it come into the?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yes, Rossum Control Forge. I'm still into.
I know.
It's maybe not the most complex in the world, but it's the one I use the most. Still is like the make noise mats. It's like never ending.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
like never. It's so like I don't know, so versatile. Like nothing else in the world really. I have even like I think 2 or 3 in my system. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like endless, really. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to mention, but yeah.
yeah. The maths.
I use a lot of effects pedals. That's like my main source of effects, and I like the Strymon Mobius. That's what I use for a lot of modulation. So
Mhm.
I put a lot of stuff, pack it through there.
Yeah.
Anything Strymon is always amazing.
Always good.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Strymon pedals, and they always sound great.
I'm about, yeah, for sure.
Did you
I saw there was
did you check
one-
out the Magneto, the Strymon Magneto? for
No,
Eurorec?
not yet.
Oh,
Not yet. Yeah.
it's a
Is it?
universe.
How is it?
It's amazing. It sounds
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely amazing.
I heard mixed reviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
Regarding
it's not for
the
everyone.
like,
Yeah.
for the pedals as opposed to the pedals.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think it sounds amazing, and there's
Yeah.
so much what you can make it do. You can use it as a very simple delay, but you can also loop things, you know, and of course everything's got CV in, so you can go completely glitchy as well if you want, you know, like have it mess with percussive stuff.
Yeah,
or-
we ended up using it quite a bit for the Zeitgeber stuff actually, like because I remember I met that machine the first time through you, and I was like, what? Like it's just like sounds like at a different dimension. Let's say.
Yeah.
Like, it's super cool.
Yeah, it has a very pleasant sound, you know. There is definitely a sound to it. It sounds very smooth, but you like every Strymon thing, it has this sort of expensive
Shimmer
sounding. Yeah.
Ethereal quality.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments asked if anyone has ever used an MC505, and that was the very first machine I ever got, and it's totally responsible for. And when I was first opening up the Lady Gaga tour, it was just me and an MC505.
Oh wow!
Best machine ever.
Groovebox.
Oh yeah.
Rave grooveboxes.
I have 2 of them, but they're all back in the US. But they're coming soon. It's it's a very difficult machine.
I think grooveboxes could be the next sort of forgotten category that everybody's going to jump on, because some of them are actually quite amazing, you know.
Yeah, that one is the amount of control that you have with the MC505 is unbelievable. It's so impossible to sequence, but
it's a massive machine, though, no?
Nothing you can't do.
Super clumsy, super heavy, no?
Yeah, I had a friend using that.
It's not that. It's a bit heavy, but it's not. I think it's the same size as the 909.
Okay.
I think it's a bit bigger, but yeah.
A little bit, and it fits in it fits in a case. It fits in a flight case for a turntable.
Yeah.
So that's how big it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was the 808, which was massive, and the 909 ones were just, I don't even crazy with motorized faders and all this stuff.
Is any new gear that like you discover recently? Like some stuff, interesting stuff?
God.
Where do we start?
I know.
The folk tech stuff. We spoke about it too, Johan. Yeah. Folk tech.
Oh, did you end up getting one? Did you?
I got the whole beast, like the whole three panels one.
Yeah, the mescaline.
Mescaline. Yeah, Folk Tech is this like American or Canadian company. I don't remember.
They're from Portland. Yeah, Portland.
Yeah, from Portland. There is like unbelievable stuff. Really, it's like like I don't know, the architecture itself. It's so groundbreaking somehow. You know, like. And it's like, I don't know, circuit bending to a degree that it's like, wow. You know, I haven't used the ones because I know Johan use quite a bit this ones that are like based on really music concrete, like this like resonant guard and stuff and blah, blah, blah. Those I haven't used, but the mescaline, it's like unbelievable, really. Like
the resonant garden is more like a performance instrument because it consists of 3 effects processors and 4 guitar pickups with the strings sticking out in different.
That's super cool.
So you can actually I did the streaming series that we're doing at Stoor. The last weekend, I brought it out and used it in the stream together with Joe, and it is never really predictable what it's going to do, because it's basically 3 effects processors in series, and some of the delays or some of the things have such big time intervals that once you turn a knob, it might be audible maybe 30 seconds down the line, so it's very hard to control, and you can make it
for better or worse.
You can make it spin out of control really easily, but if you don't just if you are it's making sure you are not overdoing it, it's a hell of a ride, you do things, and they keep on sort of looping and reverbing, big tails of reverb or pitch shifting and stuff like that. And it's more a performance thing, and the mescaline is more like a circuit bending type thing that you can integrate in other Eurorack stuff a bit more, but it's they have a very own space with the instruments they are making, and they all do unexpected things, It's you have to sit down with it and give it a go. It's not for everyone, but I really like it. I really like their stuff.
I just discovered. I just ordered. It's an effect processor. It's called Reminder. I don't know if you heard, Luca. Maybe you, because it's an Italian company that makes that. It's basically a
Reminder.
It's called Reminder. It's a like real double delay, and with the possibility of quadraphonic delay. There are 4 outputs, and it has LF4 and assignable separately to each channel, like wherever the signal is, like all the filters, high pass, low pass filter, and the timing and the mixer of the timing of several channels, and the possibility of quadraphonic, really separate quadraphonic delay. It's crazy. Like I have to test it, but I just ordered. Like I'm super excited about that one. It's, the company the effect device called Reminder, but the
Enjoy Lab.
Enjoy Electronics. Yes, exactly. Enjoy Electronics. I tested in Super Bowls, and I was like, that's what I need. Absolutely. Waited a year now, so it's coming this week. So.
Yeah, it's going to be some very expensive talk for all of us. We're like, wait, what's that?
Yeah, that's the thing.
We were talking about minimizing earlier, right?
I know, that was like 60 minutes ago. Okay, Dasha.
That's the thing with all this boutique, boutique gear. You order it, and then you wait for a year.
But
it's nothing like the Buchla
Jesus
music easel.
When that was like being ordered, and you waited for like 4 years. Some people waited for like 3 years or something crazy like that. Was like comical.
For what I know, they're still making actually the Stinty AKS. Like it's just that the waiting line is like infinite.
Yeah.
Oh, there are people out there who
got it.
Yeah, there are people out there who've been on a list for a Synthi for 15 years and still don't have it.
Wow. Yeah.
It's actually comical.
Expensive.
Yeah.
That is so expensive. Yeah.
I haven't bought new gear in such a long time. I was like banned myself from buying anything until I totally exhaust everything. So I've just been like, and then when I stopped looking at stuff, see, that's why this is not helpful, because now I'm like, well, maybe I need that. I try to not look at anything, because then I'm going to think, oh, I need this for that. But I've tried to just stop myself and bought anything. And I think, well, anything major I haven't bought in a year.
1 week, right?
Exactly. Except for a few modules. But that doesn't count, right?
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. So I've been trying to not buy anything. And sometimes that felt very helpful, actually. Like we were talking about earlier with the limitations. If you force yourself not to buy anything, you're like, well, I guess it's time to figure out that feature I've never used on this piece of equipment that I never wanted to pay attention to.
That's true.
Break out the manual.
Yeah. Yeah, that has been a bit the issue with the Eurorack thing, huh? Because yeah, a lot of people get like completely sick, addicted to it,
Yeah.
like in a way that
Oh,
was like,
for some people, it's just an excuse to shop. You know,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
excuse to
like
shop, and I know a lot of people that were like really fluent producers that like got frozen. They can't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
They can't finish an EP or an album
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
long while because of
Mm.
Eurocrack. You know,
Yeah.
like uh,
Mm.
They have too much great equipment to make any music.
yeah,
That's a real problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah,
I'm
deep mind.
scrolling the comments to see if there's any.
Yeah, me too. I was looking at the deep mind because, like, I mean, one thing I always said super hard time to find is like proper modern polyphonic stuff that sounds as, in my opinion, should. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
every time I hear like there's like, I don't know, the deep mind and stuff, 12 voice here and 8 analog voice there and stuff like this. Out of all this new shit, like I never got really convinced ever. Like it's so hard for me to think about like one polyphonic synth that is not like the Oberheim 4 voice or shit like that. That really satisfy me. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
is not the classic like Roland Juno / Jupiter stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is amazing, but it's really a very specific
Yeah.
sound, let's say.
Yeah.
Jupiter a little less, let's say, but because I had a lot of fun with the Jupiter 4, for example, in my life. But for the rest, like I don't know, I never found something that was like yes, polyphonic, chromatic, and everything, but also like a little bit on the edgy side of things that makes
Yeah.
us interested as producers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any something that really blew your mind of like new stuff from the last few years? Like,
The thing is with I'm not a big poly guy, you know. But there is some
yeah,
polys
yeah.
here, but they're the,
This we
the
know,
classic.
Johan.
Yeah, but there are. I think for the money that you would spend on a modern poly, you might as well be better off buying 10 old ones. If you have like a Moog 1 on your shopping list or
Yeah.
something like that. I see somebody mention Moog 1. You can get like a Nordrak and a Yamaha AN1X or some old Alesis. The stuff from when this virtual, what is it called again? This technique, like when the Nord virtual analog or whatever. What's the name? It's just escaped my mind. Help me out, people. Yeah, so the virtual analog kind of synths
Yeah.
from when they started, when they were still a little bit crappy.
Uh-huh.
Those machines are actually, they can be picked up for next to nothing, but it's very versatile stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
virtual modeling. That's it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Pacific Voltage Club.
Modeling,
But yeah, there's stuff from Alesis, the Ion and Neuron, and old Nord stuff, old Yamaha stuff from that era. For a bit of cash, you can have a huge sound palette, and then
yeah.
compared to for the same price as what you pay for a new poly.
Yeah.
What's this one? I'm so bad at names. Sorry, people. There's one new one.
There's Mike talking. Rather, this Mike is in the chat talking about the quantum. I think he refers to the Waldorf quantum. But do you have any experience with that? Any of you?
No.
Waldorf quantum? No.
There is one.
I don't
Let
see
me
the
let me
chat.
look it up because I suck at names. Remembering names.
And someone was also suggesting
Well,
the
not lead, yeah, but no.
Xauk Odessa,
Perhaps.
which I had a look at already, but it's on the modular side of things. But it's some kind of additive oscillator, for what I understood. So could be interesting too. Yeah, Mike says yes. It's the Waldorf quantum that he's speaking about.
Oh yeah, I see somebody mention the Novation Peak. Have you guys
Yeah.
tried that?
No.
Yeah.
And
What do you think?
I don't have one, but I
Trying
know
to
it.
read them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was interested in that.
Okay.
in the
I'm
peak.
just trying to find this one that I don't remember the name of. Continue talking, people. I'm just Googling some-
Yeah, I'm trying to read the comments right now. So.
Mike says yes.
Yeah, it's the quantum. Yeah.
Quantum, yeah.
Yeah. Shall you sell your vintage ARP 2600? Yes, before the clone of Behringer come out, man. Run! Do it now.
Yeah, the modal stuff is also quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think. But I can't find the one I mean.
I gotta say, coming back at the folk tech, the mescaline, I consider it like a crazy polyphonic machine, but
It is polyphonic, yes.
it is a bit of a special beast, let's say. I wouldn't call it a classic synthesizer. Yeah. But also for your stuff, Dasha, you should really have a look at this one, mescaline.
Okay, I'll do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about all the hardware, but I also use a lot of software. Reactor is one of my main tools still.
I love Reactor also. Thank you.
So it's not only about hardware, and I mean there are so many possibilities, and it's just infinite stuff. I really like that.
I like to
combination with external equipment, and so it's like
I use Reactor for a lot of my synth pads and everything, and sound design, like sound sources for my samplers. So
really?
It's a nice way to integrate. Yeah, it's really.
Do you have any particular? You use like user library, or you use the official library, or like what? Do you have any particular that you really like?
What is the one? Not Form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that I get them confused.
Form. Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes there's one that I constantly think is a sampler or is a synth that's like some weird sampler that sounds like it would be a synth, but I'm like, I don't know how to use it.
Forms. Yeah. I think it's also sample based. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So many, and I can't think of right now. Or
like my favorite tool is
still
with this physical function. I just love it.
Yeah, I love
it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Dino made some little adjustments to it because I couldn't use with the MIDI, so he tried to make that. It doesn't really work that well, but still, you can try. And some random. I also go through like user library, which is unofficial, but you can still access. People do like crazy samplers, and there is a great rotating sequencer. It's called I forgot the name. It's made by Lazy Fish. It's just crazy. I can't even explain what it is, but you should all check it out. I'll write it in a private chat afterwards. But crazy. Yeah. I can't remember right now. It's like the same names went out of my head.
I'm like, I know what it looks like, but
Funny you mentioned metaphysical functioning. I completely forgot about it. I did some.
You work for sound.
I did presets for it, and I haven't touched it since. To be honest.
So nice. I love it.
Really?
But I think there are two versions now. So the older one and the newer version, and then some people made some adds to it and change a little bit.
Okay, I'll check it out again.
Floor.
It was a really interesting piece of code, or a software instrument to just get completely lost in, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's an instant gratification because I remember now you can punch in some field or something, click in a window, or is that?
What do you mean? Click in the window.
There is a visualizer inside.
There is some sort of oscilloscope, but it's abstract. It's not really oscilloscope.
No, but weren't you able to click in there to make changes, or was it just?
No. You have all sets of parameters, but the window is just the visual part of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just visualize, your modifications, but it has no real direct interaction or anything.
Yeah. But the range of
Yeah.
sounds you could get from it were
It's
insane.
crazy,
It
and
goes
yeah,
everywhere.
like
every corner, every
Yeah,
possible. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
new
like you
stuff
can
that I was looking at the chat is also like super interesting. This new pulsar thing, you know,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
that is fucking
Yeah.
mental.
You've
Jesus.
tried it? You have it?
No, I don't. I ordered it, but it's still.
Okay.
I think the waiting list is quite long for that one. Have you
Oh,
got
okay.
yours? Johan?
No, not yet.
Yeah, you see. Yeah,
Trying to read. I'm late on the comments.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the old. I think we discussed it before on this hangout. But all the Soma Lab stuff is really
Interesting.
creative. Yeah,
Mhm.
it all sits in its own domain, and it's also a different way of interacting with instruments, which I think is the interesting aspect to it.
Totally. Yeah, super creative.
Oh, wait, the pulsar's like the drum machine, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The drum machine.
The drum machine.
Yeah.
Call it drum machine.
Yeah. Surgeon has one, so I haven't played with it
Ah,
yet.
yeah, really. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Tony. Hello, Tony.
yeah.
All right, so I would.
Yes.
Yeah,
invite
that would be
someone.
amazing inviting the Soma.
Actually, now
Yeah.
you mentioned Tony. Let's talk about collaborations, because I think we have all done that to.
Oh, Vril is
cer-
coming next week with a pulsar.
Yeah.
Mike saying, "Okay, I'll come by the studio. I'll look the door."
I know you just head next door.
But we never really, we don't see each other often. I think the times are work
Yeah.
different times. Well, I think day person and more night person. So yeah.
Who's the night person?
Well, I mean, it's shifting all the time, but mostly, I
Yeah.
would say I'm the night person.
Nice.
So you all day person? What about you?
Nowadays, I'm a day person. Yes. Yeah. Nowadays, I was a night person. I don't know. Something happened in the last few years. But yeah. How about you,
Two
Colleen
things.
and
Two
Johan?
things happened in the past few years.
Yes,
Right? For you.
a couple of things. But let's not mention it.
I'm a
daytime.
24-hour person. I can-
Yeah.
You are
That's
like a
a good
24/7 person.
I'm a daytime, but it depends on. I'm most effective at daytime, but it doesn't mean I don't also spend ineffective time at night making music. But if I really want to be productive, it's daytime.
Yeah.
There was a comment earlier. Are you gonna do more stuff with Tony, Colleen?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
We
Yeah.
kind of we want to make it a fully just live experience, because there's something, again, like live performance is everything to me. So we never wanted to record anything and like make an EP or something, because what we're doing is about two people doing something together at that moment in this mindset. And it's more like an experience, the Lady Starlight and Surgeon experience. So we just call it, but
So how do you
record, but we.
how do you go about it when you play together? You each bring your own setup and then kind of connect it, or is it
Yeah,
an entire other thing that you do
We
for
basically-
just that show?
Well, for me, my setup pretty much stays the same. I reorganize it for doing with another person, but we basically plan nothing at all. We don't say. Usually, Tony has the kick drum, and that's about it.
Okay.
We can have the kick drum, and then everything else we just listen to each other and do it. So it's
Nice.
So it's zero
Can go
planning.
in many
So,
directions, I'd say then.
yeah, and it could go very badly or very well. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part. See what happens.
So do you have roles, or is like one provide? You said Tony has the kick drum, but is he like the bass guy and sort of the groove, and you are doing synthy stuff on top, or is it coming from both
Free
persons
for
at the
all.
same?
free for all.
Okay, that's amazing.
Whatever needed at the time.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
It sounds
What about-
dangerous. It sounds dangerous, but that's
is,
the good. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
I think playing live should in some way be dangerous. It should be.
100% agree.
Yeah.
The space to improvise.
Yeah.
What about you, Joachim and Luca? When you do, or like when you record together, how does it come? Like your setup
When
and
we record together or play.
record, but you record also something together. So
Yeah, but I would say
Yeah.
that.
okay, well let's start with record.
Okay, well, in the studio, there's not really a fixed approach, I think. But on stage, we are basically back-to-back DJ kind of thing.
I mean,
so-
one thing that somehow it's not an approach that we decided, but it just came. It's what I said at the beginning. Like it's like it's really a little bit of like machine purism, meaning like we avoid post production on the tracks. Like there's just like. The only post thing that happens, like maybe mix down, EQing, stuff like that, But like the actual sounds are just like we record, like we cut it's like what we do is pretty much sit down and record like
Everything.
10
Like just a
hours
flow.
long sessions, what
okay,
I mean?
yeah.
We cut the best parts, let's say. So it's like.
Do you do a lot of post prod on it, or?
No, that's what I mean.
Just
like almost
straight
zero.
recording. Yeah, okay.
Straight recording, and that's really interesting, to be honest. Like we still record in multi-track, what I mean, but so that you can tweak the mix down better. But overall, that's what you're gonna hear in the end. It's just like.
Yeah.
So the arrangement is the arrangement.
Yeah. It's like a lot of. That's why like it's like it's pretty much a non-arrangement, like boy band. Yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing with working with Luca is that we chat a lot before and a lot after, but during the process of making music, we're not saying anything.
Don't talk. Yeah. Well, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like, we should do this and that, then we have this idea, and then we should like put it out. Blah, blah, blah. We sit down.
So whenever I think he should be shutting up, we just start a track and then.
Yes. Put the drum machine on, and I'm like.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because we actually recorded the first Sidecaber album when we only met once. So we sat together in the studio and we didn't really know each other very well.
No, I remember.
And we didn't talk, but we still made that album. That's funny.
I think it was like your event, Electric Deluxe event in Amsterdam, something like this.
Yeah.
And then you were like, stay a few days. I was like, okay. And then,
and the album was pretty much done. I think we did another session in your place afterwards, and another 2 or 3 days maybe.
One in Rotterdam and one in Berlin for the album. Yeah, it
It
was very dense though. Like it was very little sleep. Then I still remember. I don't know how many hours, to be honest, the actual recordings were, but it was like a huge deal. Like. And then we cut out, 55 minutes album, I think, the first one out of it.
Yeah. Will you guys do live performances together?
We do, until now,
we've done live,
like back-to-back DJ sets.
But not a hardware together?
Not a hardware thing, which is something we discussed it, but I think it's gonna happen for sure. Like
I put in a request.
Fair enough.
Yes, please.
A booking request in your living room. I like it. Yeah, that's perfect.
You can be our roadie.
Yes,
sounds good.
No, but it's gonna happen for sure. Like I know it's one of the things that it didn't happen in the last 6 years. So since how long is that we collaborate? But I know it's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah, that'd be great.
How about you, Dasha? How
collaborations?
Quite a lot. I mean,
not really. I mean, I have this ongoing collaboration with Lars Hemmeling, where we do mostly
the Lada thing.
Lada thing, where I mean, it comes to both processes. Sometimes we just improvise, but sometimes we were like more prepared, let's say, kind of having a structure and then improvise within, sort of thing. But then the other collaboration was A&D with Andrew and Dimitri. It's total improvisation. Like we don't rehearse anything. We just come, plug in, and just do it. And there are funny fights with Dimi. We have like internal joke about who's bass drum, like Dimi is very onto bass drum, and sometimes like, Dimi, can we just have like this subtle bass drum? He's like, no, that doesn't work. And yeah, funny thing. And sometimes it really works and sometimes less. So I mean, that's like total improvisation. We don't know what's going to happen. So with Lars,
what kind of setup do you use for that project?
I mean, very classic, a few drum machines. Like I play mostly with 909, and I have my Octo tracks, which I process audio with samples, and then I have like Acid Lab, kind of ravey, because I mean the project in itself is kind of more ravey, and some effects. Then Andrew has his modular to have like more textures and stuff, and I mean Dimi is also very on drum machines, and he requests sometimes a profit, but sometimes it's not possible to get it. So quite classic setup, nothing super extraordinary. It's more like about energy and totally. And I mean, quite reduced gear. So because otherwise we're gonna get lost into improvisation. It's already a lot. Sometimes it's really like everybody playing everything, the instruments. We're like, someone has to go down. Someone has to go down.
It's quite an number.
Yeah.
So do you take turns, or is it all like with?
It's really there is no like blueprint to it at all. Like sometimes we take turns, sometimes we really onto it. If it grooves, then we feel it. If it doesn't, then something else goes on. Like someone goes away, and then like there is no blueprint to it. How it's totally improvised. Yeah.
That's the most exciting way, I guess. Also to keep it interesting for yourself.
But I find like for kind of let's say. I would say, I don't know, classic techno or something. I wouldn't say regular techno because there's not regular techno or something, but it's more, I feel more comfortable. But for example, with improvisations, not improvisation, with collaborations with cello player, we have to prepare. That's not possible to totally improvise. I mean, there is a few little moments where we improvise, but there is a structure. We know to which, let's say which track we're going to go approximately, but within a track, but it's still very prepared. So it's very different. But with techno, I guess I feel more comfortable just really into, So yeah.
How about you did some stuff with Donato in the studio as well, no? In the past.
Not really. We always saying that we're gonna sit in the studio at some point and do music together, but we actually haven't really done music together.
I'm the same. I'm the same with Donato. Yeah, we should hit the studio. And I invited him a couple of times. He invited me a couple of times to Rome, and so far it hasn't happened. But I would love to work with him.
Well, I think at one point, I guess it might happen. But we did just as like you say, DJ back to back. We just do hours of back to back. That's all.
Cool.
But it's DJing. So But I was Donato. Like when I visited the studio, it was more like a tour of things for years.
I find it pretty interesting, the back-to-back thing as let's say stage output of a project album, because it's like a little bit like showcasing a lot of each other, like influences and background that allowed that album to exist. You know what I mean? So in that sense, it's super cool. Like, I mean, I remember when we play with Joachim, like most of the time is like we spend half of the time like, whoa, what is that? And like writing
really what we are doing is play each other records, And it's like it also gives the side cable thing gives, I think, both of us an outlet for the stuff that we don't get to play in our personal or solo sets. There's all this music that you really like, and not really there's not always the possibility to fit it in, to have it be part of your sets, and then side cable for us is the excuse to still be able to play those tracks.
True. I mean, you also have like, in general, when you combine forces with someone, it's something else. It's supposed to be something else.
It's a third identity.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And Joachim, when you and Surgeon do your multiples together, you separate more by frequencies. I think Tony was telling me that's kind of how low frequency, high frequency.
Yeah, the way that collaboration came together is we spent a few days here in my studio with using our own setups, like you and him do, and then see where the common ground is and see what roles would sort of emerge out of using that setup. And since he is using his modular and doing everything, programming on the fly and tweaking everything on the fly, he's more like I always say he's the lead singer and guitarist, and I'm the bass player and the drummer.
Okay, so you're more in the low end frequencies, and he's in the upper range.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
and
perfect.
I think the cool thing is that it's also a very unplanned thing, so even though I have loops and stuff prepared, but I never know what I'm going to use at what moment. So it's more like DJing for me in a way, but using samples, like finding the right thing for the right moment, kind of thing, which makes it more like DJing. And he's more like improvising over top and changing the direction of the tracks, make the longer arcs, So it's funny because when you start working together and have never played together, you have to find each other's flow and intonation or timing and stuff like that, phrasing basically. And by spending a few days just messing around, we kind of found it out pretty quickly. So the first time we went on stage, we were already playing like we were experienced, as an act. But
And that was that on New Year's Eve? Right? I think I was there. New Year's Eve.
To be honest, I don't remember what's the first. What was the
It was
first
great.
time?
It was really great. It was a big
Where
show.
where was that?
I think it was. Maybe it is not. It was a big gig though, and I think it was the first one that you guys did.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
Or ADE? No.
Yeah, I think it was ADE. Yes.
Yeah.
A
big one. Oh, here we go. Was the first ADE at Reactor. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It did. It sounded like you guys had. It for sure did not sound like the first time you guys had done it. But
in a way we did, but never in public.
And do you guys have any new collaborations coming up?
At the moment,
I mean, now it's probably obviously.
No way we can...
like, never mind.
No,
we can't see each other, so
we are in touch. So we will see what happens.
Yeah.
So we're nearly hitting the 2-hour mark, people. I don't want to cut this short, but
if you have something important to say it now.
Yeah.
I have to go to the toilet, so
Okay. All right.
That's the important thing I have to say.
Yeah.
So maybe is there anything from the people in the comments, from the stream punks or whatever, who have an urgent thing they still want to ask us? You can do it now.
Yes.
Somebody had asked me in the very beginning about what filter I was using on this set that I did, and it's the IntelliGel UVCF. If hopefully the person is still watching, because that was 2 hours ago. But that's what it is. IntelliGel it's a small module. IntelliGel UVCF. So it's that
Cool.
question answered.
Maybe this one is a last question then. For the improv sets, do you ever find those times where you thought it wasn't working, but in fact for others it may be later you actually really like those moments? Yeah, of course. I mean,
it happens quite often.
my only benchmark is, did I like it or not? It's my only criterion. If I think I suck, people can come up to me and say this was amazing, and I'm like, yeah, thank you, but no, I sucked.
But you're wrong.
And,
you're wrong.
yeah, and then the other way around as well. When I feel that I was really having a good one, and somebody said I didn't like it, fine, but I had a good time, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's it's nothing ever always goes right. There's always a moment where you think, oh, I'm getting stuck here. How I do fight my way out of this? And actually, I like those moments because a lot of times from those moments, they put you back into on your feet, on your toes. You're sort of hanging on to a desperate situation, and you have to kind of work your way out of it. And that's usually. Nice things or beautiful things come out of those moments, So I think it's part of performing. You basically put yourself out there in a pretty vulnerable situation. Without a plan, you throw yourself into it, and you see where it ends. And I think that's the beautiful thing about performing in general.
It's a challenge.
Always keep in account that your perception of yourself is very different than the world perception of yourself. And I'm referring to the times where for some reason my sets were recorded even by myself to re-listening and stuff, and I was like, I don't know, and I remember one very extended set where it was I don't think I had the spot and stuff, and re-listening to it a month after, I was super happy about it. So I was I couldn't even relate to that. I was there's actually so much groove. Why didn't I like it in that moment? So the emotional variables of the perception of yourself go so it's so complicated. You know what I mean? That you can't really. I'm referring to what Jochen was saying. To me, it's not so easy to say did I like it? Of course, for me, it's about of course, I can enjoy myself, and really be into the event and the party and stuff like this. But the did I like it part is very complicated for me to understand. You know what I mean? It's it's not really about liking it for me. It's really sometimes it feels it's about liking it. Other times it's about almost it's a must that you have to do things in a certain way that are almost unpleasant to the ears, and then people lose their shit maybe time more than ever. You know what I mean? So it's but that's the magic of it, no? I guess.
Having performing to people always should leave something. Should leave an impression, whether that is. Whether they had a good time or whether there were amazing moments or whatever, but it's even if you piss people off, that's a good result, I think.
Better than boring.
Exactly, yeah. Absolutely.
I always have I mean, it's literally our jobs as performers, if things are going wrong, to pretend that they're not. That's what we do for a living.
Yeah, actually, absolutely.
Well, it's just because I guess. Yeah.
When people see your face and you're stressed out, nobody's going to have fun, no matter how good it sounds. So if you have that energy that something's wrong, people are going to think, oh, well, this must be
exactly.
bad. You know what I mean? So you
just
have
pretend
to,
it's part of, whenever something goes wrong, just pretend it's part of the show and
or
keep
just
your poker
really
face.
intense,
but it's hard to do so because you're into the process and then you can't really hide it.
No,
Well, you have to try to
trying is the key.
But
okay, guys,
definitely.
I think we should call it a day. But I have to add one more shout out to the people here in the comments. If there's anything you still like to ask us, we actually have a Discord server. Where we are growing this community of music makers, and I'll be there after the show, hanging out and chatting to anybody who wants to join in. And you are invited as well, of course. So maybe see you there. And thanks to all of you.
Thank
Luca,
you
Dasha,
for inviting. Thank you for inviting. It was a pleasant talk.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great. Absolutely great to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Really nice.
And
talking to you.
let's hope the situation will improve at some
Yeah.
point. You
Then
know,
we can do this in
because
real
it's,
life again. Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I hope so. It will. It will. It's just a matter of time.
We will. For
What
sure.
about
Clubs are opening in
last
Berlin.
quick question? Do you have any projects you want to share or something? Maybe on the chat,
yeah.
like that, or something, or
Do
I
you?
don't
Do
know.
you, Dasha?
Not yet.
Damn.
No, but I mean, I am working in something, but it's not ready to share. So
Okay.
yeah. But
Well,
yeah, if there's
people
some
want
new
to find out
music,
what, yeah, if
Yeah.
people want to find out what we're up to, just visit our pages and find out. I would say.
Yeah.
yeah, true. Okay.
I like the old school style of things. Yes.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Yes.
Check the message board.
Yeah.
The chat room.
Everyone.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks
Okay,
again.
guys.
Thank
Thank
And,
you very much,
It was
everybody.
lovely
You
talking
all.
to you. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Wish you
Bye.
inspiration.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Bye. Thank you.